Assalamu alaikum, family. You're tuned in to the Sajdah channel, and I'm your host, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad, and we're going to be talking today about becoming an industry disruptor and why it's so important that we in our community understand not only the power of industry disruption, but why we should be industry disruptors. So I'm going to break all that down. Be a friend, tell a friend. I'll be right back after a few short commercials and a beautiful prayer. And while I'm gone, use this red QR code right here and make sure you vote for me as an entrepreneur of impact. Remember, you and a friend or two got to vote every single day in order to get me into the finals. And right now we're in second place. Okay. And that might not get us there. So we got work to do. All right, family. I'll see you in a few. Be a friend, tell a friend.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee. And he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee. And I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Greetings, everyone. I am honored to be competing in the Entrepreneur of Impact competition with Damon John. Winning this competition would really help expand the footprint of my art and science of business movement and help me to continue to bring mental strategies and business strategies to marginalized people around the world. Look, voting is now open, so get out there, vote for me. I really appreciate it, and spread the word. Be a friend and tell a friend. And guess what? You can vote every day. So we need as many people voting because we need to bring grassroots entrepreneurial training to marginalized people around the world. Thank you so much. I'm Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. I should have said that at the beginning, right? Well, at least you know it's not AI. Okay, I'm looking forward to your vote, and I'll see you soon. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you, family. Excuse me if I'm frowning when you see me take a sip of my tea. I'm not frowning at y'all. I'm frowning at this tea. I'm doing this this herbal cleanse and this herbal detox that I do usually like once a quarter, and the tea is so nasty. It's not like my fancy favorite stuff that you guys are used to hearing me talk about. Whew. Anyway, how y'all doing? Everybody doing okay? I'm so grateful to let you all know that, again, as you know, I'm in the top 5 for the Entrepreneur of Impact competition. Right now, we're in second place. Okay. So we got to bump that up to first place in the next 4 or 5 days so that we get to the finals. And the finals are the next stage. And they have us broken down into groups. And then the group ends this week. So whoever's the top in the group goes to the next phase. So we're trying to win this thing, y'all. Bring some exposure to what we're doing, some of the concepts we've been working on that have been fabulous across the board, across all ages. Shout out to Sister Aletha. Today is her birth anniversary. I don't know if she's on, but join me in wishing her a happy birth anniversary. I'll try to remember to put her Instagram or Facebook tags on here so that you all can go out and wish her a birthday. But we have a program. She actually wrote a platform called Club Blue Wealth. And through Club Blue Wealth, we've been able to run some of the art and science of business concepts. She developed a Work Ready, Wealth Ready program with the Coleman Carradine Foundation. And then we have this fellowship program that we've curated. And every week we're curating content and curating the students. And it has been a major hit. And then that's ages 14 to 21. And then on the the adult side, I've been doing a lot of work with the art and science of business, master classes. Thank you, Brother Lamont. Master classes, things like that. We're going to do some really fabulous stuff this summer at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. The idea is gearing us up for self-governance, doing for self. Because here's the deal. Many of us don't realize this, is that the system that we've relied on for so many years, and when I mean system is something that is set up where you kind of just plug and play, right? You go to college, you get your degree, you have your experience, you go apply for a job, and you work. And if something happens on that job, well, if you go back to the 60s and 70s and even the 80s, a lot of people stayed on those jobs for a number of years. And then now that the average tenure on a job is between 3 to 5 years, people go, okay, I'll just unplug from that if they let me go or lay me off, or my job is abolished, and I'll plug in and apply and go somewhere else. What's happening is a lot of these companies are not hiring, and a lot of these companies are making the requirements or the criteria for participating in that system so strict that many of us are becoming unemployable. Okay. And so we have to change the way we think, change the way we move, change the way we do things. And it used to be, they went through a period where only people at a certain level, quote unquote, at the bottom of that system had to deal with all those restrictions. So if you were a returning citizen, if you couldn't pass the drug test, if you had certain psychological issues, you didn't have, this certification or that certification. But what they've done now is they've swung the pendulum and they're hitting us on both ends. So you saw that there were a couple 100,000 professional Black people, primarily women, that were laid off in DC in the DC Metro DMV area alone. And what happened with a lot of those sisters now is that they've got so much experience. They have so many certifications. They've done so much that now when they go to apply for a job, they realize I'm unemployable because nobody wants to pay me for my experience. And if they try to drop down into the pocket and say, okay, well, I'm going to go into, management or something like that, there's a lot of competition at that level, and they'd rather hire somebody that is openly willing to take the salary because they don't believe that we're going to be around. So now the game is squeezing us. A lot of these sisters have responded by becoming public servants, which I love. So self-governance and what we cover here in the art and science of business is very, very important. And so in some of the master classes and coaching that I do, I talk about that and how you can tweak. But here's the other piece. Here's the other piece. There are underserved segments of our community that are pretty much ignored by the way the capitalist big box systems function, because they want the big dollars, they want it fast. But there are smaller niches in our community that we can serve, and there are ways in which we can disrupt the system. And I ain't even saying that in a negative way. I'm saying that in a way so that we can survive, so that we can introduce newer goods and services into the community. If you look at somebody like a Damon John, he was an industry disruptor back in the day by introducing his FUBU wear. And nobody was dressing like that. Nobody was wearing that. Nobody was into that. But we as a people craved an independent vibe, an independent style. And in so many ways, a lot of those clothes that they put out, a lot of the designer clothes, they don't even fit us. That's why we be looking crazy a lot of times when we try to wear them. But that was a industry disruptive way of tapping into the retail and clothing market. Okay. And so I want to talk about that today. I pulled a quote from the book that I put in here, which is a quote from Tyler Perry, who's a filmmaker and entrepreneur. And whatever you think about Tyler Perry, I'm not a big fan of all of his stuff. I do like some of the things that he does, but I cannot doubt that his business model and who he is that of an industry disruptor, because he is definitely that. And the quote that I pulled from him says, "I built my dreams on land nobody else wanted." That's disruption. Seeing value where others see nothing. And I want to talk about that today because I want to shift our mindset from being emotional, being frustrated because the system isn't working for us, to creating a system of our own, or finding a way to find a crack in the system that we can slide through and make and find that land that nobody else wanted, that Tyler Perry talks about. All right. Because a lot of us are bumping our heads because we keep trying to do the same thing over and over again, and it's not working. It's because in many cases, those doors have closed for us. Many cases. That's the reason why you see a lot of people, and it happens a lot for people under 40. A lot of them are working online. They have, they're being creative. They're figuring out other ways in which they can make money that don't necessarily involve them pounding the pavement, because for whatever reason, they can't break into those industries. So we have to be creative out here nowadays. Back in the day, there were ways in which to be creative to break into the corporate system. I had to be creative in order to navigate that corporate ladder in the business consulting and development world, because it was an old boys network. They wasn't going to let me in. So I found something that was special about me that became valuable and became popular. And there was a technique that I used to obtain projects and to acquire opportunities that was very unique. And I tell it to you if you have a coaching session with me, but I'm not putting it out here. But anyway, let's talk about this. What is an industry disruptor? Remember, I'm reading from The Art and Science of Business, which is my new award-winning book. If you use this QR code right here, you can get a copy of it, or go to artandscienceofbusiness.com. If you don't have it, there's 2 QR codes up here. This one is for the book, and this one is to vote for me as an entrepreneur of impact. Today's course, including yesterday's course, because all these are courses, a podcast, but these are courses. What I say to myself is, I got class this morning. Okay. So, Sister Aletha, you joined in. Everybody was chiming in, wishing you a happy birthday anniversary. You just got here. So y'all do it again. Happy birthday anniversary to Sister Aletha. And thank you, sis, for all that you do. I'm not going to add up how many years that you've been my friend, because that's going to really, really age us. Suffice it to say, I'm so grateful for you, and I pray that you just receive so many more blessings. You deserve it. You deserve it all. And we're going to shout you out here in the chat, and we're going to celebrate a little bit later today. So we're talking today again about industry disruptor from my award-winning new book, The Art and Science of Business. I got another book waiting in the cut, but we're going to finish this one. This book I mentioned, we've been using it in a lot of different programs that we've been putting out there. The whole idea is to get us as a people to be able to access generational wealth, to sustain ourselves in a society that is closing itself off to us, making us unemployable. On one end, they're telling us we're too qualified. We can't hire you. On the other end, they're telling us we're not qualified enough. So it's time for us to disrupt the industry. Okay. The quote from Tyler Perry again. He said, "I built my dreams on land nobody else wanted. That's disruption. Seeing value where others see nothing." Okay. What is an industry disruptor? An industry disruptor changes the rules of the game, reshaping consumer expectations, setting new standards, and opening possibilities that competitors never imagined. Disruption is not about making noise. It is about introducing solutions, styles, or systems that are so unique and impactful that they redefine the market itself. All right. And I'm going to go over the keys. That'll be about all we'll have time to do. But when you, like I said, when you sign up for a coaching session, if you were a money psychology class attendant last week, you got a free coaching session from me coming up. Some of you have already signed up. That link's going to expire. So if you don't go to your email and get the link soon, you won't get that free session. Okay. Industry disruption is fueled by clarity. So you got to be clear on the industry, but really you got to be clear on what it is that you want. You got to have courage. You have to be consistent. And here are some of the important keys. Again, 2 QR codes up here. This one, the green one, is to get the book, and the red one is to vote for me as an entrepreneur of impact. We're in the top 5. I'm in second. Y'all, we got to push up. We got to get to first so that we are in the finals. Okay. All right. Number one, identifying an underserved audience. I mentioned to you all many, many times on this show that in this class, I will say, if you've been a student of this movement and of this class, you've heard this many times. There are so many underserved markets in our community and so many ways in which you can sustain yourself by servicing that community. This particular class is one of those ways. I'll give you an example. Identifying an underserved audience, spotting who is being overlooked, and designing offerings that meet their real needs. Disruptors don't chase trends. Okay? We serve neglected communities or untapped markets with precision. You know, I've been telling you all that the Black people who have Islam and other levels of consciousness as their foundation is an underserved community, because many of the programs out here assume that Black people are a monolith. And there are massive amounts of discrimination out here. If you are a Muslim and you're Black, if you're a Hebrew Israelite and you're Black, if you're conscious and you're Black, they discriminate if you got natural hair nowadays. So there's a way to service that community. And believe it or not, and I've been saying that particular niche in our community as Black people is some of the most successful, intuitive, and creative members of our community. We know it in our community, but the broader community doesn't recognize it. And in fact, they would sometimes rather trade the income before allowing people who are conscious or who are trying to create that market niche into the market. I mentioned Damon John earlier, who is one of the sponsors of the Entrepreneur of Impact program that I want you guys to vote for me for. He was an industry disruptor when he introduced FUBU and had LL Cool J to wear it, because nobody was really dressing like that. Nobody was looking out for that kind of stuff. And it sparked something in the hip hop community. It sparked something in the designer world that really, in my opinion, helped to fuel and almost rocket launch hip hop into one of the most income generated genres in the world today. That was an industry disruptor that did that. And it takes a certain level of consciousness. See, sometimes we get freaked out because we think consciousness means anti-white. Consciousness means I'm conscious of who I am. I'm conscious of what I'm up against, and I'm conscious about how to introduce that good and service into the community. That's really what consciousness means. And then on top of that consciousness, I'm going to look out for the people who are looking out for me, and I'm going to look out for marginalized people. See, when you have a program called the Entrepreneur of Impact, that means that you must assume that there are those of us that are entrepreneurs who are impactful that are going unnoticed. That's a level of consciousness. All right. Here's the second one. Solving a problem differently. Business and life is all about solving a problem. It's all about a math problem. Everything in life is about going to that next level and learning how to solve a problem. I believe that God gives us challenges so that we can gird up our loins, become a little bit more focused, more strategic, tweak whatever we need to tweak, be a little bit more responsible so that we can get to that next level. Everything in life is about solving a problem. You don't go through life without a problem. And the way you navigate life which determines whether or not you're successful or not, is if you can solve those problems that you are facing. All right. So solving a problem differently. Because here's the other thing. The capitalist society knows that life is all about solving problems. And so they put solutions out here and tell you, you got this problem, this is how you solve it. You got this ache, this is what you do. And then they monetize the solutions that they give us, and then they market it to us to make us think that that's the only way to solve that particular problem. And they box us in, right? Especially if you're trying to have some level of morality. You ain't trying to do nothing crazy. Ain't nobody trying to go to jail. You're trying to handle things a certain way. So in that little window right there, they say you only got one or two choices. Well, being an industry disruptor means that you figure out how to solve a problem differently. Meaning introducing fresh approaches in design, delivery, or experience that challenge the status quo. Whether through technology, storytelling, or community-based models, disruptors bring a new way forward. Okay? Solving a problem differently. Here's the next one. Making innovation accessible. This is really important because through the whole capitalist industrialization process, a lot of the companies became so big, you heard it during the Obama administration, too big to fail. They became so big, but they became inaccessible. So, for example, in healthcare, in Maryland, we were able to become industry disruptors because we made subsurgical specialty services accessible to the everyday person. Traditionally, you had to go to a big box hospital, get out of the car, navigate through the maze of the hospital. If you can't hardly walk, you got to hope you can get a patient transport because sometimes the campuses are big, the parking is expensive, you can't even afford to go there. Then once you get there, you got to see 2 or 3 doctors and hope that you can get a referral to a subsurgical specialist. And we said, no, what we're going to take the number one killer of Black people in America, which is cardiovascular disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, stroke, high cholesterol, being overweight, smoking. Those are the risk factors. That's the number one killer. We lose well over 100,000 people a year in our community to cardiovascular disease. That was before COVID. We call it the pandemic before the pandemic. Okay. And then COVID came along, and those with those risk factors were especially vulnerable to COVID, which created a whole nother avalanche of illnesses and deaths. Okay. And so what we said was, we're going to make them retail based. So you can pull up and park and walk right in. So that's a big complaint a lot of times with sick and elderly people, is navigating the maze of the hospital. So the surgery center, we said, nope, you're going to be able to pull up and just walk right in. You got to go through all this stuff. Okay, that was the first thing. Second thing we said was, if you come to us and you need a referral and your doctor is refusing to give you a referral, we're going to call them and help you get a referral. So in a lot of cases, we would do a free screening, put together a very nice report for you, give it to you, and say, you can take this to your doctor and say, this is what I found out from the screening I went to at the senior center this weekend, and I need you to make a referral to me. Now, what we said was, you don't have to necessarily be referred to us. We just recommend that you get a referral to handle this particular condition. In many cases, the patients referred to us because they felt like, oh, they care. But not all patients And we didn't make that a requirement. We did the free screening because we wanted to raise awareness about the vascular devastation that was existing in our community. And now, especially with people starting to really smoke heavily at younger ages, we were starting to see cardiovascular disease in people as young as 30, 35 years old with the leg pain, leg swelling, pulmonary embolisms, blood clots. That used to be for just elderly people. And now we see the age coming down. One of the risk factors is that if you were over the age 50, you would be more prone to cardiovascular disease. And I think that needs to be lowered because the lifestyle that many of us are living now, between the fake foods, the smoking, the overall lifestyle, sedentary lifestyle, sitting down, not moving. They say sitting is the new smoking. We need to bump that age down some. I would say probably 35 at this point. But anyway, I digress. The point being is that we were able to disrupt the industry by just getting the information out there, made us an industry disruptor. Okay. Here's another one. So making the innovation successful, true disruptions happens when breakthrough products or services. So this was a breakthrough service. It wasn't necessarily a new service, but the information broke through and spread and helped so many people who were just sitting around suffering, either knowing that they had the disease or not knowing, but doing nothing about it. Okay. So true disruption happens when breakthrough products or services are affordable and within reach. Excuse me. Not reserved for the elite. That was the other thing. Let me tell y'all something about, let's see if I can say this without YouTube and them shutting it down and these people going crazy. Okay. You know, these weight loss drugs that are out here now, they call them weight loss drugs, but they're really treating diabetic symptoms. And then the side effect was weight loss. So now people are using it for weight loss. And in some cases, they're good, especially in lower doses, because a lot of people do need help with regulating the symptoms associated with diabetes. I'll say it like that. We used to see certain elite patients, mainly like white patients, that would come in and they would come back, you know, they'd be really, maybe they were morbidly obese and they had these things, they needed to get surgery and maybe they didn't get it right away. And a lot of surgeons discriminate against people who are overweight. We never did that, but a lot of people do. So we would have a lot of overweight patients who would come to us because a lot of surgeons will say, they don't want to dissect through the fat to get to the vessels or the organs. And so they won't operate on people who are overweight. And we saw that a lot. And so I would notice that a lot of the white, maybe more wealthier customers would come in, and it's like 1 minute they'd be really heavy, then they come back and they lost all this weight. And I'm thinking to myself, what in the world are they taking? What are they doing? Because there's people in our community that could benefit from whatever this is that they're doing. And it was always like this top secret thing. And then later when these drugs started to popularize, I said, oh, that's what they've been taking. It made sense. Anyway, so making innovation accessible means true disruption happens when breakthrough products or services are affordable and within reach, not reserved for the elite. Democratizing innovation amplifies its impact and builds loyalty. Okay. And so when I talk about that loyalty building, when we just say, hey, we're going to give you the information, here's your packet, here's what's going on with you, go wherever you want, but you need a vascular surgeon to evaluate you and guide you through this until you can stabilize. that became a form of like brand loyalty because nobody was telling them this. Now, in many cases, a lot of the subsurgical specialists were happy because they was like, oh, thank you, because we just been kind of waiting for, maybe the primary care physician who is kind of the gatekeeper to refer to us. And sometimes they don't even know how to recognize when a person is in need of a vascular surgeon. So what do? We started educating the primary care physicians on what symptoms to look for. And in some cases, we went to primary care physicians' offices and did a little screening right there and helped them to see, oh, this is a patient that you should be referring. And then we made them feel comfortable by saying, we don't want your patient. Because a lot of times they would get nervous because they feel like you're going to steal their patient. We don't want your patients. We don't want to manage their diabetes. We don't want to manage their hypertension. We're going to handle their vascular or their circulation needs. We're going to send them back to you with guidance on how to do that. And so we created what I named this circle of care, this more collaborative approach. And I'm not saying that this doesn't exist in a lot of places, but in this particular case, in the DMV area, this type of circle of collaboration didn't exist. And so we were able to disrupt the industry by creating all these additional services that then became brand loyalty. And so I'll say this to you: when you begin to disrupt industries, you have to be ready for the enemies to come against you. Because then what would start happening was the hospitals would lie on us. They would make up all kind of stuff. And literally we would call and confront them. Did you tell this patient XYZ? And they go so far as, because the patients get so endeared to you, they will go so far as to straight up lie on you. Oh, they're doing this or that. They're not supposed to be doing this, but they're doing it. But the beautiful thing is that 90-something% of our patients are people who have been turned down 2, 3, 4 times by other facilities. And so they would get angry, like, well, look, we already said that person's over 80. We can't help them. Or we've already said they're overweight. We can't help them. And we would say, look, if you want to live, you deserve to live. Come on in. We'll help you. We don't care if you're 85 or 90. We had 90-year-old yoga teachers that we were working with. We said, hey, if you're a little bit overweight, we have equipment that can accommodate you, but we're going to suggest to you ways and send you to a place where you can go and lose some weight. So that segment of the population that was being thrown away, we found a way to embrace and love and help. And patients would literally be crying. I have videos with grown Black men just literally crying. Is that the whole Black male demographic in healthcare is another neglected industry. I'm giving y'all game here if you're in healthcare. A lot of people want to work with the birthing centers and the mothers, and that's good. It's deserving. But I say the most neglected group of people are African-American males. And if you, which we did, if you find a way to service them, you're going to have a loyal customer for life, because they don't shop around. They don't got 2, 3 doctors they dealing with. And there's a way in which you can be of service to them. I'm giving y'all game. Anyway, here's the other way to be an industry disruptor. Leveraging culture and identity. Here's the thing. Traditional capitalism tells us that, and they're going back to this now with DEI is code language. Getting rid of DEI is code language for getting rid of cultural identity. I don't know if you all know this, excuse me, but most DEI jobs do not go to Black people. Okay. And less than 1% of all government contracts that they're labeling DEI go to Black people. We are not the beneficiaries of DEI or DEI programs. And all you got to do is go look up the statistics, go and Google what percentage of DEI jobs go to Black people, what percentage of government contracts go to Black companies. It's less than 1%. And I don't know what the percentage is on the jobs, but it's low too. But we are not the beneficiaries of that. It's code language for getting us to stop leveraging our culture and our identity. So we talked about Damon John earlier, leveraging the culture that he came from to disrupt an industry when he created FUBU. Since the hip hop industry exploded and there's so much money in it worldwide, now we see the advent of an avalanche, I would say, of culture vultures. Our culture has always been a leader in just about every industry. But now the culture vultures are really, really strong and really, really, there's a lot of them. Let me say it that way. And so if they then say, well, okay, companies, y'all don't got to deal with these DEI people, and then you got all of, I had the statistic in my head and I'm sorry, I forgot it. I should have wrote it down. But many of these programs, if you got a 501c3 and you're saying this is for Black children, Black youth, Black students, underserved communities, if you put a race or some kind of identifiable marker in it, these people are literally suing folks. I don't know if y'all remember those girls down in Atlanta who were getting sponsorships to give entrepreneurs, I think it was $25,000 a piece. They got sued. And the organization, the think tank I'm part of, Physics, I'll repost it, did a whole white paper on how many times people were sued for having programs for Black people. And this is a whole interesting dynamic because if you have a product or service that is culturally driven, we're being cut off from the larger market and then stigmatized for marketing to our own culture. This is interesting dynamic. So this is why this concept of being an industry disruptor is critical. So Black entrepreneurs in particular have always created global disruption by infusing business with culture. It's interesting now because one of the things that I teach is how people can be authentic to themselves. And when you think about hip hop, beauty, food, culture-driven innovation shaping billion-dollar industries. But what's interesting is that the other play is to remove and defund Black history, remove it from the schools, remove any cultural nuances from funding sources. So now you have a whole generation of people that are coming up that don't know who they are. And so it's almost going to be impossible for them to become industry disruptors because of culture and service the culture that they're from if they don't know who they are. This is a whole, I'm not going to go too deep into that, but this is a whole thing. And here's the last point on becoming an industry disruptor: sustaining with systems. So lasting disruption is not a one-time splash. It's supported by processes, infrastructure, and strategy that allow ideas to scale and endure. All right. Let me just read this because this wealth gap that's been created and this bias that is being built into capitalism, the new bias that's being built into capitalism, is what is impacting the GDP and the fall of the dollar. And it used to be back in the day that war was a way in which countries boosted their economy. Okay. And I still hear people repeating that, saying, oh, well, the country is at war because they're just trying to make money. And that's not quite true anymore. See, after World War II and before the world wars, the wars that the U.S. went into fueled the manufacturing of missiles and war machines. And then that industry boosted the GDP because there had to be trade and commerce around it, because there was this new market or this new niche or this new revenue that was going into the economic system. Well, now war machines have been a continuous part of the American GDP. So going to war is not necessarily going to increase the GDP because it's already part of it. It's not a new industry that is driving new jobs or anything like that. So it's changed. It's different. And so this old school way of thinking of it is wrong. And so that's why we say, okay, World War III is going to look a lot different from World War I and II. And I don't mean to scare everybody, but again, as an entrepreneur of impact, it is my job to lay the groundwork and help you to understand what it is that you're dealing with. We are living in a world today where systems are changing rapidly, just like that. And so if you are relying on a system that was in place 10 years ago, you're already behind the 8 ball. So, shameless plug, come to shows like this, and we're going to show you how to be innovative and how to strategize your way towards being an industry disruptor. Now, let me read this before we go. According to Nielsen, in 2023, Black consumers represent more than $1.6 trillion in annual buying power. Let me say this. Stop with the madness that Black people don't have any money, because you got to have the 1.6 trillion in order to spend the 1.6 trillion. All right. Yet much of this influence is captured by companies outside our communities. We know we talked about this. Our dollar does not last 6 hours in our community. So that 1.6 trillion that is flowing through our hands goes right from the source to somebody else within less than 6 hours. The opportunity for Black entrepreneurs is immense to disrupt industries, not only by introducing innovative products and services, but by building companies that reinvest wealth directly into Black communities. When disruption is combined with ownership, it becomes more than a market shift. It becomes a catalyst for collective empowerment and long-term economic sovereignty. All right, I'm going to stop there. And I go on in this chapter to give a playbook for disruption. And there's some resources that I listed where you can read about the development of historical dynasties like the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the Morgans. And that leads into the chapter that goes into legal and financial strategy. So if you don't have this book, my new book, The Art and Science of Business, I suggest you go and get it. This is really a textbook on the art and science of business. And we'll be coming out with companion books and another one soon. And right now there's master classes and coaching and training that is being done is coming right from this book. Okay. So I see y'all here. Nappy Twist says, my mother wants to get into government contracts. What industry should she try? I can't answer that right off the top. I don't know what she does. It's government contracts now are harder than they've ever been because there is an incorrect assumption that the DEI programs, the minority women certifications, the women-owned certifications, that they were going to Black people. And so there's this whole push that says, okay, they unqualified, they got these contracts. That's not true. It's less than 1%. Okay. So Nappy Twist, I would say for your mother, there's websites that if she's going to, I would say start on the state and local level. That would be my first suggestion. Not to start on the federal level. Go to your county website, your local city website, and you should see a tab that says doing business with. So in Chicago, you can find a tab that says doing business in Cook County, or doing business in Chicago, or doing business in Illinois, or you can just Google that. And when it shows you that, it's going to tell you how to get registered. It's going to tell you how to sign up as a vendor, a certified vendor, or whatever. And then they're going to give you different jobs that you can bid on. So you may get what they call a RFP, a request for proposal, or RFI, request for information, RFQ, request for qualifications. That's usually where they may just put you in a database and refer to you when they need it. Then you can start to bid on those contracts. That would be the easiest way that I would say to get into it. I don't know what industry she's in, so I can't answer that question, but I can tell you the mechanism that would be how I would do it. I would also do something like doing business with the school system, doing business with the police department. Any of those municipal areas, you can Google how to get registered, how to do business with them, and look to see when they put out information. Greetings, Brother Thaddeus. He said, how do I order the book? Go to artandscienceofbusiness.com. There's a QR code here. The green, the one with the little green in the middle, you can use that, or just go straight to the website, artandscienceofbusiness.com. Thank you, Brother Thaddeus. He said, great show. You are dropping much knowledge. Thank you. You're welcome, Nappy Twist. Let's see who we got here before we go. Let's see. I see all of y'all wishing happy birthday anniversary to Sister Aletha. Keep that coming. I know I see a lot of y'all on here, but you're not in the chat. Thank you, Brother Lamont. Thank you, Mom. Dress code. I see you, Sister Betty. Brother Lamont says sedentary lifestyles are pervasive in our community. Yeah, they're pervasive in our community and in America as a whole, because we're sitting in front of computers all day. Then we take a break and we go watch a movie. We laying down on our side all day. We're not moving, we walking. We all got places we go, so we don't have to park too far. We don't walk. And so that heart rate never gets a chance to get up and circulate that blood. Some of us are smoking on top of that. Some of us are eating bad food on top of that. And it's just a recipe for what they call poor circulation, which is cardiovascular disease. It's just a perfect cocktail for that. Okay. So the idea is get out, move, jump down on the ground, do some push-ups, some sit-ups, some squats, get that heart rate up. If you like watching movies, put your treadmill over there where the TV is and walk on the treadmill while you're watching the movie. But get off your bun, get off the couch. Then we drive. We're driving long distances. There's a lot of truck driving jobs. If you're a truck driver, you got to get out and do some stretches. You got to get out, walk around a little bit, get out and squat. The truck drivers tend to be really prone to cardiovascular disease. Those of us sitting up working at the computer, we got a corporate job and we're sitting up in meetings all day and in the Zoomiverse, and we're just sitting at the computer hours. Some of us sit down in the morning and we don't get up until the evening. That's not good. Okay. So Brother Lamont says, great point and so relevant. War is no longer revenues necessarily. Yeah, no, it's not. Because again, when that concept was true in the around about the 50s, and forgive me, I may not have my dates straight, we were building all these war machines and they were new to the industry. So the steel industry got a bump, the iron industry got a bump, manufacturing got a bump. All of these components of these war machines got a bump, the labor bump, but that stuff has been in it's been in production, and it's not like they stopped producing these materials. And so it's already baked into the economic numbers that are there. And now we don't have the money anymore to go out and invest. So some people would say, well, once they decide to go to war, they're getting ready to just invest more money into it. But we don't have it like that. So it's war is a different economic dynamic than it was in the 50s. All right. So y'all stop saying that and stop telling people that, because this is a different game. There's other things going on that we have to pay attention to. All right. Especially when you got private citizens doing war negotiations. That's a whole nother conversation. All right, family. So vote for me as your entrepreneur of impact. You all know that I'm all about helping you gain access to tools and strategies to help you navigate the world of business. I want to see you happier, healthier, wealthier, and experiencing more love. Stay close. We're going to be doing some master classes and some do for self stuff in a historic spot coming up this summer. You can book coaching sessions with me. All of that, go to sajdahwendymuhammad.com and you can learn more about it. But first, get the book. Get the book. And pull out your phones right now. Use the red QR code and go and vote for me as the entrepreneur of impact. We are in second place in the top 5. We need to bump up. You got to vote every single day. So do me a favor. You go vote and then tell somebody else to vote. Okay. It's tied to a nonprofit organization. If you can afford to donate. If not, then get about 4 or 5 of your people and just go out there and vote. That'd be good. Okay, family, I'm going to get out of here. Again, happy birthday anniversary, Sister Aletha. And everybody, thank you for voting for me as an entrepreneur of impact, getting me to the top 15, the top 10, the top 5. And let's get to the finals. If we win this by Thursday, then we're in the finals. At least I believe that's how it goes. I think that's what they said. But anyway, I just been putting my head down going, hey, let me just continue to prove to you and demonstrate to you that I'm your entrepreneur of impact, so that when I ask you to go vote, you don't hesitate because you say, yeah, she's impactful. All right. Okay, family. Love you all. Remember, accept your own and be yourself. Peace and blessings.